Hello students, a very good morning. Let's continue our discussion of Polity for Prelims 2024. So in this I am going to discuss part 18 of the Indian Constitution, that is emergency provisions. Please note that part 19 is miscellaneous provisions, where I have discussed two important aspects of part 19, that is protection that is given to governors and presidents, and article number 365, which says that if the states fail to comply with the directions given by the center, or if the president feels that there is failure of constitutional machinery, then president can impose president rule under article 356, that is article 365. So in the part 19, that is next part, already as I have discussed in our Laksha series, there are three important provisions. One is the protection given to president, governor and Raj Pramukhs. Raj Pramukhs was removed. Second one is protection from immunity of publishing something which is happening in the parliament, provided that it is not a secret city. Third one is this one, that is called article 365. Along with this, the definition of a remunerative post and some other definitions that we have seen. Please remember that is going to be helpful. After that, part 20, article 368 of the Indian Constitution, power and procedure of parliament to amend the constitution, is article 368. After that, article 369 speaks about the so-called article 369 to article 392 speaks about something like the temporary, transitional and special provisions. There itself I have said, remember article 371, 371A to 371J, these things. After that, we have come to something called the last part of the Indian Constitution, that is called the short title, commencement, English language, or and then the last one is repeals, article 393 to 395. So that is already done. So I am coming from back in this video. In this video, I am going to discuss about emergency provisions. And now, first of all, if we read this emergency provisions in Lakshmikant, it is going to take huge amount of time. So better remember emergency provisions as I say now. Be it in the Bear Act, I have just followed from the Bear Act, so no need to go through the Bear Act also. There are just few articles, article 352 to article 360. 352 to 360 discusses about the so-called emergency provisions in Indian Constitution. 352 to 360. Now in this article 352 is important. It speaks about proclamation of emergency. 352, article 356, the president rule. It is also known as the state emergency. It is also known as the constitutional emergency. Article 360, which speaks about financial emergency. So these are the articles that you have to remember first. Article 352, article 356, article 360, and then impacts of national emergency, you have article 358 and article 359. This speaks about how fundamental rights are suspended during proclamation of emergency. That is for national emergency. By the way, the term national emergency is not mentioned in Constitution. They just say proclamation of emergency. So there is no provision or no term called national emergency in Constitution of India. They have defined rather proclamation of emergency. Now, article 352 is important. Article 356, 358, 359, 360. These three is directly remembered. Article 352 national emergency, 356 state emergency, 360 financial emergency. Impacts of fundamental rights on your emergency is article 358 and article 359. These are the two things that we have to remember first. Followed by this, how to remember this entire provisions. How to remember this entire provisions. Don't make it too complicated. Just follow the procedure that I say. Right. So remember this flowchart. That is more than enough. So what is the criteria on which they are announced? What is national emergency? I said this is not mentioned in Constitution. National emergency is not used in the Constitution as such. State emergency and financial emergency. As I said, state emergency is also known as constitutional emergency or presidential emergency or president rule. So the criteria is which article of Indian Constitution speaks about it, what is the grounds for declaration, whether written recommendation is necessary from the cabinet or not, whether parliament approval is necessary, if it is necessary, what should be the approval, in how many days they have to approve these things, and then whether with simple majority or special majority. Next one is what is the duration for the application of this, and then next one is how to revoke it. Once you have kept it, how to revoke it, and what is the number of times it is imposed, whether judicial review is possible, and what is the consequences. So remember this in simple manner. No need to remember too much. In simple manner, you can remember this. So have a look at it, what I said. The first one is, which article of Indian Constitution speaks about which emergency? What are the grounds on which you can declare it? Who can declare it? Once declared by President, how Parliament has to pass it? Once Parliament passes it, with what majority it has to pass? Once it is passed, for how many, what is the tenure for which it will be there in the Constitution, or it will be there in operation, tenure of operation. The next one is how to revoke it, and then what are the impacts that it will create. In the impacts, always remember impacts on fundamental rights, impacts on the state legislature and the Lok Sabha, and the next one is the impact on the so-called executive and financial relations. Because between the union and the states, there will be three types of relations: the legislative relations, executive relations under part 11, financial properties, contracts and suits, part 12. Right. These are the things. And next, miscellaneous terms like how many times it was introduced so far, and then you have to discuss about whether judicial review is possible or not. Yes, judicial review is possible for everything under Minerva Mills case. So Minerva Mills case, it is important, just remember this. And there are some constitutional amendments which we have to discuss in this. So if you read Lakshmikant, it is going to take time. Just to stick on to it for UPSC prelims. This is going to solve the questions of national emergencies, presidential rule, as well as financial emergency that they are going to ask for our examination. So what is the reference material? The reference material is this. The reference material is this. From where I have taken, yes, I have compiled from Lakshmikant as well as from the so-called the Bayer Act, the emergency provisions, part 18. This is Bayer Act. Have a look at it once. Proclamation of emergency. So look at this. There is no term called national emergency. Article 352 says proclamation of emergency. This is Bayer Act, guys. So what are the things that you have to remember? Who can proclaim it? If President is satisfied that a grave emergency exists for what? Security of India or any part of there, either by war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Armed rebellion, he may proclaim the so-called emergency. To that effect, whole part of India or a part of India. So this is proclamation. So one thing that we have to remember is, so who can proclaim? This can be proclaimed by President. On what grounds? War, external aggression, armed rebellion. Look at this. Armed rebellion was not there in the original constitution. It was added through 44th, or internally, it was earlier internal disturbance. So as internal disturbance clause, the original constitution possesses internal disturbance. Way back in the year 1975, Srimati Indira Gandhi utilized this internal disturbance clause and she has imposed emergency. As a result, the 44th constitutional amendment replaced internal disturbance with the armed rebellion. The 44th constitutional amendment replaced it. Right. So this is the thing. So first let me discuss these quick provisions, and then we can have a look at the so-called the Bayer Act. So let me go in this manner. In one go, you can prepare everything. So first of all, start this. Which article? National emergency. National emergency. Again say, the term national emergency was not used in the constitution. It was used with the proclamation of emergency. That is the thing that they used. Which article of Indian constitution deals with it? Article 352 of Indian constitution deals with national emergency. On what grounds it can be imposed? President can impose it on the grounds of war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Armed rebellion. Now, armed rebellion was added through 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Earlier it was internal disturbance. Internal disturbance. As this provision was misused, in the year 1978, this was replaced. One more thing. Does it requires to have a war or external aggression in order to impose national emergency? No. There is no clause that definitely there should be war, external aggression. Even if there is preparations for the war also, they can go ahead with it. So war may not be happening, but still you can go for emergency, right? So there is no straight and fast rule that only when the war starts you have to keep national emergency. Remember this. So on broad grounds, war, external aggression and armed rebellion. Who can declare it? President can declare it. Now, how President can declare it? Very, very important. President has to declare this after receiving a written recommendation from Cabinet. Written recommendation from the Cabinet. Very, very important. This was again added through 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. President has to get written recommendations from Cabinet. Again, Srimati Indira Gandhi, in the original constitution, this was not present that you have to receive a written recommendation. As a result, Srimati Indira Gandhi has misused of this. So 44th Constitutional Amendment said that written recommendation is compulsory. Now look at the thing. From Cabinet. The term Cabinet was used in the Constitution only at one place, and this is Article 352. Only in Article 352, only for one time you find this term called Cabinet. However, Constitution has not defined what is Cabinet. Constitution has not defined what is Cabinet. So remember that. So Constitution uses the term, but it did not define. It did not define what is exactly a Cabinet. Next. So who can declare? President upon the written recommendations from Cabinet. Once it is announced, Parliament has to pass the bill or pass a resolution. Parliament has to pass a resolution within 1 month. Within 1 month from the proclamation of this emergency, both the houses of Parliament has to pass it. Both houses of Parliament has to accept for this with a special majority. With the special majority in each house, the bill has to pass. So both the houses of Parliament has to pass it within 1 month, and both the houses has to pass with special majority. Now within 1 month, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has to pass. What if Lok Sabha is not present at that point of time? Say Lok Sabha is dissolved. If Lok Sabha was dissolved at that point of time, then Rajya Sabha has to pass it. After Lok Sabha is constituted, within the next 30 days, after it has constituted, they have to pass the bill. They have to pass this resolution. So this is how Parliament has to pass it. To pass the resolution within 1 month with a special majority, both houses has to pass it, this one. Now again, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act has done these changes. So earlier it was 2 months, simple majority. However, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act has made one thing to this constitution, that is they have said 1 month and special majority. Next, which majority is required? As I said, for national emergency, the majority required is so-called special majority. What is special majority? Majority of half of the members present and voting and the so-called 2/3 of total membership of the house. Right? So 2/3 of the members present and voting, it is 2/3 of the members present and voting as well as the so-called half of the total majority. So that is called special majority. Special majority bill has to be passed. So exactly, okay, once national emergency is imposed, what is the tenure for which national emergency will be there? The tenure for which national emergency can be there is for indefinite period. So national emergency can exist for indefinite period. Very important. However, for every 6 months, Parliament has to get or give its approval. For every 6 months, with special majority, Parliament has to give its approval. Say today they have announced national emergency, then within next 6 months, the Parliament has to again approve with special majority, and then it will continue for the next 6 months, like that 6 months. With periodic approval of Parliament, you can extend the national emergency to indefinite period. You can extend national emergency to indefinite period. Okay, once President has invoked it, how to provoke it or revoke it? So President has provoked it or proclaimed it. How to revoke the national emergency? In the revocation, President can revoke at any point of time. President can revoke at any point of time. once he thinks that there is no need, he can revoke. Or if the parliament, not parliament, very important, if Lok Sabha passes a resolution with a simple majority, to revoke, then president has to revoke. So here extremely important, while passing the national emergency, while keeping the national emergency, both the houses with special majority, while revoking it, only Lok Sabha with simple majority it is enough. Only Lok Sabha with simple majority. After this, say for example, Lok Sabha is not conveyed at that point of time. If 1/10 of strength of Lok Sabha or 10% of strength of Lok Sabha approaches the speaker, or if there is no session, approaches the president to conduct a special meeting, for revocation of national emergency, within 14 days they have to convey a special meeting. Within 14 days they have to convey a special meeting. This is what you have. So revocation, president at any point of time they can revoke it. Now what do I mean by president? Remember this council of ministers headed by the prime minister, aid and advice from them. Second one is Lok Sabha passes with simple majority. Lok Sabha simple majority, not parliament. Lok Sabha has to pass it. Both houses not necessary. Or if 1/10 or 10% of the strength of Lok Sabha is thinking that we have to revoke, and if they go to the speaker, speaker has to convey a meeting. If there is no session which is going on, then they can approach the president to call for the so-called a meeting, and within 14 days the president shall call these members to assemble to discuss about revocation. So this is how these things are there. Which article, on what grounds, who can impose it, parliament with what majority, what is the tenure, indefinite, 6 months periodic approval. In the periodic approval also what you have to have special majority. Revocation, once it is applied, how you can revoke, president at any point of time can revoke it. Lok Sabha can revoke it with special majority, or 1/10 of the members have passed it. The next one is, what is the impact? Say for example, if there is national emergency, what is the impact that it is going to create? Right. So the impacts of national emergency is on the fundamental rights. So what impact it creates on fundamental rights? Important. So in order to discuss this, Article 358 and 359 will be coming into picture. So whenever there is Article 352 which is imposed in a country, it will have impact on fundamental rights through Article 358 and 359. Now what is Article 358? It says that whenever there is proclamation of emergency under Article 352, the fundamental rights under Article 19 gets automatically suspended. The fundamental rights under Article 19 gets automatically suspended. No need for separate resolution. So fundamental rights under Article 19, you have 6 fundamental rights. Shyam resides in Poland. I said this if you do remember. Right. Freedom of speech, expression, associations, freedom of speech and expression, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of residence, freedom of profession. Right. You have these things. So under all these 6 fundamental rights are automatically suspended. However, in the original constitution, this was the clause. In the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, what they said is, Article 19 gets automatically suspended only when national emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression. Only on war or external aggression. Only during this period of time, you can get automatically suspended. So this is another thing. In the original constitution, Article 358 said that all the fundamental rights under Article 19, that is the 6 fundamental rights, are going to get invalidated or getting suspended, which means you cannot go to the Supreme Court asking for judicial review. However, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978 said that you can suspend it, but only when national emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, but not through armed rebellion. So when external emergency, or when national emergency is declared an armed rebellion, you cannot suspend Article 19. You cannot suspend Article 19. This is important. So this is what you have to remember. Whereas Article 359 says all the other fundamental rights except Article 21, Article 20 and 21, except Article 20 and 21, all the other fundamental rights can be suspended. How? By presidential order. President has to say which fundamental right has to be passed out. So Article 19 automatically gets suspended. Only one provision that you have to remember is it is not an armed rebellion. Otherwise, if there is armed rebellion and national emergency, Article 19 will be there. If it is because of war or external aggression, you will have this thing, fundamental rights under Article 19 suspended. Whereas Article 359 says Article 21 and 20, except this Article 20 and 21, all the other fundamental rights can be suspended. All the other means fundamental rights chapter begins at Article 12 and it ends at Article 35. Anything can be changed. Right. Already Article 19 is changed under Article 358, so leave it. So here they are saying Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended in any case. However, other fundamental rights can be suspended by presidential order. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, look at this. Article 19 is suspended already through this provision. So, Article 20, 21 you cannot suspend through Article 359. So, except these two, all the other fundamental rights can be suspended. However, how? Through a presidential order. So, President will say which article has to be suspended. That article can be suspended. For what duration? President will say. What is the duration for which you have to suspend it? President will say. No. Now look at this. So these are the two provisions that you have to remember on fundamental rights. So only two things. Fundamental rights are going to get impacted under Article 358 and Article 359. Article 358 says fundamental rights all are going to get getting automatically suspended, whereas 44th Constitutional Amendment said that it can be suspended only during war or external aggression, not because of armed rebellion. Article 359 says that except Article 20 and 21, all the other fundamental rights can be suspended by using the so-called presidential order. Now, this is the impact on fundamental rights. Now, what is the impact of legislature? So, you have two legislatures, one at the central, that is called Parliament, and state legislature. First of all, look at the lifetime of Lok Sabha. In the legislature, we have Lok Sabha. The lifetime of Lok Sabha can be extended, or the lifetime of state legislative assembly can be extended 1 year at a time during national emergency. The lifetime of Lok Sabha can be extended 1 year at a time during the times of national emergency. However, after national emergency ceases to operate, you cannot extend national emergency beyond 6 months, or you cannot extend the life of Lok Sabha beyond 6 months. So the life of Lok Sabha can be, normally life of Lok Sabha is 5 years, because Lok Sabha is discontinuous chamber. So normally its tenure is 5 years. You can extend 1 year at a time. However, after national emergency ceases to operate, you have to end the life of Lok Sabha within 6 months, which means elections has to be held and then new government has to be formed. The same thing applies for state legislature. So this is first thing that you have to remember, life of Lok Sabha. The second one is Parliament have the power to make laws, and Parliament can also make laws on the state legislature or state subjects. Parliament have also the right to make laws on the state subject. Normally, in original scenario, if there is no emergency, how the division of powers will be there? Parliament can make laws only on the union list. States can make laws on the state list. Both can make laws on the concurrent list. This is what you have according to Schedule 7. This is Schedule 7 of Indian Constitution, and this is how you can make the laws. So what does this mean? In normal circumstances, in ordinary circumstances, Parliament cannot make laws on the state subject. However, during extraordinary situations, emergency situations, Parliament is entitled to make laws on the state subject too. They can make laws on the state subject too. However, the law made at this point of time is subjected to judicial review. You can subject it to judicial review. Yes, Minerva Mills case. And the law will cease to operate after 6 months of termination of national emergency. So the laws will terminate automatically after 6 months. So for example, Parliament made a law on the state subject. That law after national emergency, 6 months after national emergency, it is going to cease to operate. This is the thing that you have to understand. Parliament can make laws on the state subject. So if Parliament is making, then what is the position of state legislature? State legislature will be present. If it wants, it can make laws. If it wants, it can make laws. The state legislature, it is not dissolved. It will be continuously functioning during the national emergency. Right, it can continue making laws in its state subject. Right, but it gives extraordinary power to Parliament to make laws on the state subject also. This is the thing that you have to understand. So this is legislative power. Simple. Life of Lok Sabha and State Legislative Assembly can be extended 1 year at a time, indefinitely. After this, however, after national emergency cease to operate, you cannot extend beyond 6 months. The second one is Parliament is entitled to make laws not only on the union list, but it can also go and make laws on the state list along with the concurrent list. So what does this mean? State legislatures. State legislatures do continue to exist. However, they can make laws normally as they are making. If Parliament wants to take that power, Parliament can take that power of making the things. So state legislature will not go anywhere during national emergency. They will be functioning. After this, the executive power. The executive powers during the times of national emergency. So normally the executive power is exercised by governor, in the states, president at the center. Here you have governor and state government. Government is executive authority, union government are central. So during the times of national emergency, the center can direct to the states. Center can direct to the states on any matter, or to execute any matter. Normally, only on the central laps, center has the power. But during emergencies, center can ask on any matter to the states to implement that provisions. So I will ask the states, I mean center will ask the states to do any function. Executive means working function, right? So you have to execute it on any matter. This is the thing that you have to understand. So executive power of the center extends to such an extent that it can ask the state government to do all the works. And financial relations. President can alter the revenue distribution during the times of national emergency. Revenue distribution means normally revenue has to be distributed between the union and the states in certain proportions. Now, during national emergency, president can declare that this has to be changed. President has the right to change it. So overall, what is happening because of this? So emergency provisions are converting the so-called the unitary feature or the so-called federal feature of this administration into unitary feature. Federal scheme of constitution into unitary feature. So this is why national emergency makes the first article, that is Article 1 says, India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. Union of states here is indestructible union but destructible states. How the states are destructed? One provision to destruct the states is the so-called emergency under Article 350 to Article 356, Article 360. So this is how this is impacted. So this is the story about national emergency. This is the story about national emergency. How many times it was invoked? So far it was invoked 3 times. One in the year 1962, war with Indochina, 1972, Indo-Pakistani war, 1975, internal disturbance. After this, they have changed that provisions. Judicial review, yes, they can be judicially reviewed. Minerva Mills case. One thing that we have to remember is Article 38, Article Constitutional Amendment Act 38, 42, and then 44. So always remember in the emergency provisions, 38, 42, these were made during the times of Srimati Indira Gandhi. So they have curtailed the powers of the courts and they made to impose national emergency very easy. So this is easy to impose national emergency. But whatever 44 did, they have tightened the norms to impose national emergency. So in the options, whenever you find whether that is a liberal thing to impose national emergency or whether they have tightened national emergency, then tightening policies will be under Article 40, Amendment 44, whereas very easy provisions will be under Article 38 and 42. What article? Not article, Constitutional Amendment Act. What Constitutional Amendment Act 38 says? It says that national emergency or emergencies is not subjected to judicial review. Not subjected to judicial review. This is what they say. But 44th Constitutional Amendment has changed all these provisions. So remember these things. That is what it is important. 38 not subjected to judicial review, but in Minerva Mills case, it was said that it is judicially reviewed. This is about national emergency in short. This is national emergency in short. So what do I mean to say? So I mean to say, just remember these things, guys. What is national emergency? Which articles of Indian Constitution are speaking about this national emergency? And what are the provisions that you have to look over a period of time whenever you are studying this? So, national emergency, which article of Indian Constitution is going to deal? It is going to be dealt by Article 352. On what grounds? The grounds are simple: war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Armed rebellion was replaced through 44th Constitutional. It was replaced through 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Originally, it was containing internal disturbance. Who can declare? President can declare. How he can declare? By getting a written recommendation from cabinet. In the constitution, the term cabinet was used only once, that too in Article 352. However, constitution has not defined what is cabinet. Now, how he can announce? He has to get a written recommendation from president, from the so-called cabinet, and parliament. After imposing this national emergency, parliament has to convey a meeting, and they have to ensure that it is passed within 1 month with special majority in each house. If Lok Sabha is not in session, Rajya Sabha has to pass it. Once Lok Sabha comes back, it has to pass within 30 days. What is the majority? Special majority. What is the tenure for national emergency? National emergency can continue for 1 year for indefinite tenure, provided that for every 6 months. For every 6 months, there should be subsequent permission from parliament. Who can revoke it? President can revoke it at any point of time. Lok Sabha, if it passes a majority with simple majority, not parliament here, only Lok Sabha, and if 1/10 of the members are writing to the speaker or president to convey a meeting within 14 days, a special meeting has to be formed. Impact. Fundamental rights, Article 358, 359, 358 says that Article 19 is going to go away automatically. However, Article 19 will go only when the national emergency is due to war or external aggression. It doesn't go away if it is due to the so-called internal disturbance. Article 359 says, except Article 20 and 21, all the other fundamental rights are going to be taken away, or they can be taken down by a presidential order. In the order, President will say which article has to be removed in the fundamental right, and that will become suspended for a tenure which is mentioned by the President in his presidential order. This is the impact of fundamental rights. Going for the so-called legislative impact. If you look at the legislative impacts, the legislative impacts is simple. First thing is, Parliament will exist, state legislature will exist. Parliament can control, state will be making laws on state subject. There is no disturbance. However, Parliament gives extra power to make laws on the state subject. This is one thing that you have to remember. Now, what about the life of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? When once a law is made by the Parliament on the state subject, that law will be operationalized only for a period of 6 months. After national emergency, and automatically it is going to be dissolved. Automatically it is going to be dissolved. What is the lifespan of Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies? The lifespan of Lok Sabha can be extended for a period of 1 year at a time. Very important. Both Parliament and Lok Sabha as well as state legislative assembly lifespan can be expanded. Next one is, these are legislative powers, executive powers. Normally, Centre can direct the states only on Centre subjects. But here, Centre can direct the states to do any work. Executive means doing the work or doing some functions. And anything, they can ask the states to do this executive function. So this is the one. So in financial powers. So this is one. Financial powers. Financial powers means how the Centre state money is divided. President can change it. How many times? 3 times. Judicial review. Yes, Minerva Mills case. Constitutional amendments. That is important here is Article 38, 42, 44. Just go with a blind mark. 44 has tightened the norms to impose national emergency. 38 and 42 has loosen the norms to impose national emergency. So remember Indira Gandhi, 38, 42, 43, Indira Gandhi government, so they have made it time. So these are the provisions that we have to remember as far as national emergency is considered. In my next video, I am going to make video on the so-called state emergency and financial emergency. Just stick on to it, and whatever I have given in the class notes, Article 352, grounds of imposition, written recommendation, parliament approval, duration, majority, revocation, continuation of laws in the state, number of times it is imposed, judicial review, consequences. So this is again, I have kept it in a format. You can, if you want, I will share it. You can have a look at it. This is written by one of our students. So this is one thing. So I will be sharing both. Just stick on to it. No need to go beyond. So this is Article 352, Article 358, Article 359 of the Indian Constitution, and 353 of Indian Constitution. Right? No need to go with the Bayer Act. No need to go with Lakshmikant. Stick on to it. This is what they are going to ask in the exam. After this, I am going to come out with the so-called president rule, constitutional emergency, as well as financial emergency. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll be making the next video very soon.